Hello, friends. Today I have a working technique for handling complaints. How to handle complaints in business or in personal. As per Phycology of human, complaints are formed because of dissatisfaction. Most of the time complaints lead to arguments. What to do when someone keeps on complaining about his problem? The psychological solution for handling complaints is to make the person talk more, and get more yes from him. Let the other person talk more. Let's learn this technique by a story. Chief engineer of Mac's company was buying motors with Allison Motors. One day chief engineer of Mac's company made a phone call to the marketing manager of Allison Motors and told that he is going to stop buying remainder motors from Allison company. Let's see how marketing manager handled this complaint and convinced chief engineer. Chief engineer: I am going to cancel the motor contract. Manager: why, Mr. Chief? Because your motors are too hot. I can't put my hands on them. Now the manager realized the problem which leads to complaints and decided not to argue with the chief. Well, look, Mr. Chief. I agree with you 100%. If those motors are running too hot, you ought not to buy any more of them. Then the manager asked, you must have motors that won't run any hotter than the standard set by the National Electrical Manufacturer Association. Is it that so? The chief answered, yes, of course. Manager cleverly made chief to explain about those standards. Chief: could you tell me what those standards are? The Electrical Manufacturer Association regulations say that a properly designed motor may have a temperature of 72 degrees Fahrenheit, above room temperature. Is that correct, Mr. Manager? Absolutely correct, Mr. Chief. Well, if the mill room temperature is 75 degrees and you add 72 to that makes a total of 147 degrees. Wouldn't you scald your hand if you held it under a spigot of hot water at 147 degrees Fahrenheit? Is it right? Yes. That's right. Then the conversation ended. After a few days again the chief engineer made a phone call not to cancel the motors but to order more motors. This the technique to handle complaints. 1. Make the other talk more. 2. Don't argue on complaints. 3. Make the other person say more yes to your question. If you like this video then subscribe to Chennai Mind.